So before we get into this video, if you guys want to check out my link tree, check out my short films, you definitely can. You can also log them on Letterboxd. It'd mean the world to me. You can also check out my feature film, Quesadilla. It's on Amazon right now. The Blu-ray comes out in December. Again, that would mean the world to me as well. Hit that like and subscribe button. Let's talk about one of the most disturbing films I have seen in a long time. When it comes to disturbing films, I can name a couple. I don't really get disturbed much from films. I think films that genuinely unsettled me would probably be something like Spoorloos, The Vanishing, Solo, although I do feel like I kind of understand the motive now from Pasolini with that film and knowing the behind the scenes, but that's for another video, another story. And then there's also another film called Playground, which is I forget which country it came from. That film messed me up. It's based off of the James Bulger case, which is just so heartbreaking. But we have a film called Red Rooms, and what Red Rooms is about is, I'll just read you the description. Kellyanne is obsessed with the high-profile case of a serial killer, and reality blurs with her morbid fantasies. She goes down a dark path to get the missing video of the murder of a young girl to whom Kellyanne bears a disturbing resemblance. It's more than that, because there's also a character in this that the person who is assumed guilty, she's in the courtroom, she wants to marry him, she's one of his followers, basically, and you get to see Kellyanne, who is essentially into this true crime. She's a fashion model, but she has this morbid fascination with it, which I think a lot of people kind of do when it comes to true crime. There's kind of no way about it. If you look at, there's so many true crime documentaries as of late. I actually have kind of fallen in love out of true crime documentaries. I think the last good one that I seen was the Ted Bundy tapes, and even then I wasn't really the biggest fan of that. There was also Don't Quit Cats, which was another one that was very disturbing. I find that I like them more so for an educational purpose, and I feel like you can kind of just find a YouTube video about it. But for Red Rooms, if you are a fan of creepypastas, this is probably one of the top films that I could recommend, because Red Rooms are sort of this myth in the dark web. And if you don't know what a Red Room is, look it up. But essentially, just to kind of dumb it down, whatever I can say on YouTube, it's essentially a place where a person will take another person and film it, and you can watch it, and things happen. It's not good. It's not good at all. And also, Reddit and 4chan lovers are going to love this film as well. But this is one of that's kind of a joke. I don't know. You might like it, you might not. But Red Rooms is one of the most disturbing films I've seen in a while, and you don't even really see anything. It's a courtroom drama to an extent, but you also get to follow Kellyanne and also the guilty guy's essentially lover. They sort of sleep outside the courtroom. They go to each one of the trials, but you don't get to see anything. You get to see or hear monologues from basically the lawyer of the guy who's being accused, and you get to see monologues or hear monologues from the girl's family of the attorney that's representing them. And then that's whenever you get to hear the descriptions and what happened and all the horrible things. And it's just through the description where you're like, ooh, okay, that sounds rough. And then you do get to see a little bit of the video, basically the aftermath, which is rough as well, just because it hits you, and it's what you don't see. It's not that I've noticed. I mean, it is sort of a common thing. It's what you don't see that ends up messing you up. And I think that the film executed it very well, because what you do see, it just makes it that much more impactful. I also think that this was sort of loosely based off of the 1970s case, I believe, of the Toolbox Murders. And if you hear me say, like, I believe, it's just because I don't want to be fact-checked on this stuff. Because when I listen to true crime, I will listen to one documentary and hear one thing, and then I'll listen to YouTube videos and hear the other thing. So just know my knowledge of true crime, which is pretty vast, I'm not going to lie. I don't know if I should be ashamed of that. But I do have a pretty vast knowledge of true crime, and to be fair, most of the information that I get is from other content creators. So, but there is a case that is the Toolbox Murders, and it happened in the 70s. There are recordings of what happened to girls, and the courtroom, basically, you get to hear a little bit of the audio, but there's reproduced, essentially cover audio that I guess you can listen to, but there's also real audio that is not available to the public. I think you can hear like a little snippet from a courtroom video or what have you, but apparently FBI members listen to it just because of how disturbing it is to desensitize them. But basically, you are watching Kellyanne go to each one of these trials. She's trying to get the next video, the video that's not seen, because there's only 2 of them. I don't want to say what happens, because this film is a wild ride, and it's very dialogue driven. Something like this should technically kind of be boring. I mean, it should, but it's not. And you do have to have somewhat of a fascination with this subject matter, I think, in order to be engaged with it. If this is something that you're not into, in terms of, the disturbing nature of it, then you're going to have a hard time with it. But I would even argue that if you're not a fan of something like this, you could probably still watch it because, again, you don't really see much. So it is more of a psychological thing at hand. It's also filmed in 151 aspect ratio, which is very unique because it is, I think it's the same aspect ratio or very similar to Unsane. So it kind of has this social media feel to it. I can't necessarily explain it, but it has this very cold, very, it almost feels kind of urgent in a way, very modern. And I do not know if this is true or not, but the soundtrack for this, the opening soundtrack, it reminded me a lot of personally my favorite classical music piece, which is Piano Trio Number 2 in E flat from Franz Schubert. It sounded very similar, but I would highly recommend checking out Red Rooms, especially if you're a fan of true crime, creepypastas, even certain types of media, which there's people that are into that type of stuff. I mean, you can't necessarily diss it. It's a morbid curiosity. People can't help but to have curiosities. This movie is also on Vinegar Syndrome. If you guys want to buy the Blu-ray, I would highly recommend it. Support and boutique labels, independent labels, please do so. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Take it easy, hit that like and subscribe button, and let me know what you thought of Red Rooms down in the description, or not the description, the comment below.